vending machine spirituality is because as soon as somebody feels offended or as soon as somebody feels like they are uncomfortable with either opposing information or information that makes them feel insecure about whatever their belief systems are, then they automatically see that as a threat and they need another vending machine fixer-uppers, something to clean up what was just damaged. So they put in another dollar bill into the vending machine and they get another fix. So it's either put a dollar in the spiritual vending machine and, you know, get out crystals. If crystals don't work, then use Reiki. If Reiki doesn't work, then use meditation. If meditation doesn't work, then use spiritual healing circles. If healing circles don't work, then go to a guru. If a guru doesn't work, go to a channeler. If a channeler doesn't work, then go, you know, change your diet. See how it's all these different things that represent the journey, but the journey itself as a whole is the whole thing. But since it's been compartmentalized and they say, no, this is not spirituality, this is spirituality. Once they do that, they've created a system. That is definitely not anything spiritual because it has a benevolent or a malevolent intention behind it, hidden behind benevolent commercials. So they put these benevolent commercials about the new age in your face and these people in your face, but their true intentions down the line, it's to spiritually paralyze your consciousness so it doesn't evolve. It doesn't go any further than what the system needs it to go. If it goes further than what the system needs it to go, then you're going to become a threat to the system. So they need to put a bunch of talking heads out there that maintain the consciousness of non-threatening spirituality. This is what the New Age movement and the New Age system is about. Oprah with Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins not only make spirituality non-threatening to the system, but make spirituality beneficial and profitable to the system, and also a part of the system in order to add credibility to the system. You're caught in this idea of things create spirituality. And then as long as you have those things have built up what you define spirituality as. So what's more important there? The things that make up spirituality or the definition in which you're trying to reach that means spirituality? Of course, it's the definition because it's going to be different from everybody, and it's the definition of spirituality that's going to determine what you think spirituality is. So if you're just so cheap enough just to take spirituality as just a bunch of stuff that's laid out like by people like David Icke and Russell Brand, then your spirituality, your new age, your evolution will be based upon that. And that's what this system is doing. That's why I'm saying some people are aware of this system existing, other people aren't. And that's the benefits of the system for the system, because it looks real. It's like, oh, well, you're always going to have fake people out here and you're always going to have real people out there, right, Kenya? So you got all these different, the thing is they exist, or it exists, the system exists as like a hands-off thing. It's like, we didn't create this, it's the people who are doing this. And then if it seems like a threat, like Russell Brand to New Age people seems like a threat to the system. They think people like Russell Brand are evolving the system and are evolving the consciousness of humanity into a higher realm. That's what people think of, like about Russell Brand and Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra. They can't even acknowledge that they're connected to systems of people who are designed to enslave the masses. That's how paralyzed the New Agers are. They cannot even acknowledge the most obvious shit out there. Oprah and all the people connected to Oprah are attached to the most manipulative, fucked up, destructive system out there. And you have an entire community of people around the world who are saying, nope, I can't look at that information. It's not worth it. It's not worth my time. I'm just going to think of a higher perspective that will hope their way down the line. They're hoping themselves into a higher consciousness. This is what it is. They're playing the waiting game, hoping their way into heaven. That's what it is. As long as you just don't do a whole bunch of fucked up stuff like the system does, then you can hope yourself into heaven. You'll just hope your way up there. Just don't do a whole bunch of fucked up things. So what the system does is it plays the devil for the people who now are the gods and the angels. So as long as a system can maintain that it's the devil, it's simultaneously maintaining that you are the angels and the God is the God. So you have to fight the system. What do the angels have to do? They have to fight. That's their job, is to fight the system, right? Fight the demons, fight the devil. So these are these rehabilitated, used to be addicted to the system, these rehabilitated angels now, who used to be demons, like Russell Brand, pawning off like he's some like spiritual teacher and so on and so forth. They put these people out there and say, oh yeah, these are the ones who you should follow and listen to. So they'll play like they're crazy, like they do with Jim Carrey, and they're doing with Russell Brand. How they're and there's another one too, Jim Carrey, Russell Brand. These people who talk about consciousness out there and the Illuminati and stuff like that, but they're obviously Hollywood actors. Not to say that they can't talk about this, I'm just saying that it's more complex than that. It's more complex than they're just a Hollywood actor who stumbled onto a higher awareness. Get the fuck out of here. It's way deeper than that. This system, in order to slow down time and the expansion of true consciousness and true like movement, what the system has to do is manipulate the amount, the way you move, manipulate the velocity of movement, and then channel that velocity back into the system. So the system knows that the people on massive scales are going to be spiritually awakening, right? Whatever that means, based upon, so there are shifts and cycles within our thought processes that go up and down over series of time. And, you know, some people get it, some people don't, here and there. And then eventually over the many different lifetimes, you'll work your way to wherever it is. It might not even be this lifetime. That's what I was telling some friends of mine, like, there's some things that people are dealing with today, right now. This is why I don't get involved. There are things that people are dealing with right now that are going to take lifetimes to deal with. So once we start to realize that, then it'll be more easy to see the vending machine spirituality, or this new age spiritual like paralysis, because that's really what it's boiling down to. All the abuse and rape and all that culture, that's not across the board around the world. That's very specific. You can channel that directly into Greco-Roman culture and how they were all about that S&M sort of sick and fucked up ways of being in society. They made that normal. So they're trying to make that normal, and they're saying that that's human. Oh, these are human problems. We're just these monkey-minded people who just want to fuck everything and destroy everything and conquer everything. And then that's going to be what you fix in order to become spiritual. So as long as you fix that, then you can become spiritual. That's what they're trying to play off with Russell Brand. As long as you go from fucked up to less fucked up, that's your spiritual awakening. So if it's not to, you know, go beyond all this bullshit. It's to just get better than you were. So if you're an addict, now you're a father, and oh wow, so glory of being a father and a mother, all that shit. So this is all that stuff that I'll address with the love and the happiness coming up in the next video. But I had to share this piece first, because this is the premise of the New Age agenda, is to focus all your ideas on fixing what was systematically broken, so that you don't go any further than the systematic broken consciousness limitation program. You can't go beyond that. You'll become awakened to the point of still being asleep within the system, and they need you there. And this is how they do it. He'll talk about how he became confident, but he won't acknowledge how, on a micro scale, but he won't acknowledge how the macro scale confidence contributors added to his micro scale, and the micro scale and the macro scale confidence of so-called white people around the world. See, that's why the New Age exists, to take your attention off of the power. He's a perfect example. Don't look at the macro confidence that is existing inside the systematic oppression of a certain people. focus all of your attention in your new age, whatever, your spirituality on the micro version of confidence, and then that'll be it. That's all you have to do. Then you're awakened like me. Da, 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 da. I used to be an addict. Now I'm a cool spiritual guy with a baby. Follow me. I'm a good guy and I can speak some consciousness and really cool shit. And that's it. And I'm a nice guy. Like, I'm a nice guy like this. So I say, so you're saying a system of racism and white supremacy running rampant around the world for hundreds of years hasn't at all added to your confidence? Vending machine spirituality is the biggest threat to the health and well-being of the modern masses. New age spiritual paralysis. This is the intention of the New Age agenda. The system wants people to protest. It wants people to protest the system because you're in that protesting, you're asking the system to empower its, like, you're asking the system to change. And what you're doing is, in that same moment, you're asking you're telling the system has more power than you. You're powerless, and beyond that, you're telling the system that whatever happens will happen in reference to changing the system, making the system better, evolving the system. And that goes into a space that obviously goes into a space of the people remaining powerless. So the fear has to be amplified. Your emotional triggers have to be amplified. So Armageddon, it doesn't have to focus on like the people, or he's a spiritual guru now, right? So his perspectives are of a higher consciousness. So if his perspectives on society and so-called civilization dismiss racism, white supremacy, then it's dismissing one of the biggest psychological mind control programs of our entire experience, especially right now. So this is why I'm making this video. This is what the New Age agenda and these New Age mouthpieces are out there for, to dismiss the deeper approaches and to amplify the shallow approaches to maintain the consciousness of changing the system, evolving the system, keeping the system of enslavement under the guise of evolving the system. Like, all this change is happening. So just the same way that you follow Russell Brand for his deep perspectives of consciousness and all this other shit, you're going to follow his deep fears or interpretations of Armageddon and all that other shit. So his idea of Armageddon is when the European castles fall, when the European so-called civilizations become exposed. So 9/11 and all the stuff that he mentions, this is about the exposing of the European dominance over the world. And he's going to shrink it down to like the people versus the bad guys at best. And the bad guys are what? It's us. We're doing this. It's like, no. Where were the us when the Tulsa race riots, when that broke off? Where was the us in that? See, that same consciousness that created that destructive event, that our destructive Armageddon back then in Tulsa in 1921, that stuff, that same mentality, that same psychology, that same consciousness, that same event type style happened way back when. That was an example of our Armageddon, like at that time. And that event is equivalent to the other events that he's getting ready to mention in here. He's talking about like the burning down of Notre Dame. You can hear, let me just play this so you can hear it for yourself. How they have to create this sort of tear-jerking, emotionally triggering, just kind of anchor points in your reality so that you have some kind of vested interest in the system getting better or changing. Or if it falls, then you feel bad about it. That's the thing. Who the fuck cares about, this empire falling? Only people who are vested in the empire. Sure as hell, fucking millionaires are going to be vested in the empire. So if the empire is shifting towards a new age interpretation of reality, then obviously the people who are in power, the gods and kings within Hollywood, celebrities, politicians, they are going to sell whatever they can to maintain their deified reality. their kingly fucking reality. They will maintain it in any kind of way. They will maintain it with war. They will maintain it with keeping you dumb and intelligence, psychology, and they will maintain it by manipulating your spiritual interpretations of this reality and yourself. Period. And these are the representatives of that kind of mind fuckery.
What meaning do you attach to the image of the burning Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris? Does it make you feel like it's a sign of Armageddon?
No. The same way Joe Rogan puts only white teachers and white so-called spiritual teachers or whatever on his channel, because he's selling an idea. He's selling the American dream. That's what he represents. The same way the system only puts white people in the White House or the presidency. You have to be manipulated to think that in order to create a new history, you have to be constantly inundated with the powerlessness storyline. This is the so-called democratic capitalistic new world sort of colonial idea on stolen land, on the blood and bones of the original people. The White House, the presidency, all that stuff represents the ignorance of that. The same way Joe Rogan represents his version of the White House. The Joe Rogan experience is the White House of the internet, and it's designed to keep you from going any further than the consciousness put out by that White House. So Russell Brand is his own White House, and he's his own White House of information. And when he tells you to get or not get angry, but to think, feel sad about this stuff, and like the feats of mankind and like all this stuff, like glorifying this pedophilic. I don't give a fuck about that church. Only people who give a fuck about that church are people who are vested in the mind control programs overall. Who nobody on the massive scale tip gives one fuck about Notre Dame and all that other bullshit in that religious mind control program. In fact, the masses know what the fuck is going on in that church. And if you ain't saying shit about the power that church is connected to, then fuck you, period. So this is how these individuals are. The main thing here Russell Brand is doing. Look how he's using his hands and all that shit. He's talking to millions of people. He's speaking to the fucking world. When people speak like that, they're trying to make you. They're trying to like force you to think about something. You just have to say shit. You don't have to really like say things to say things that really matter. You just gotta say the shit. So when people are like saying stuff like this, the way he's saying it because he's not really saying anything. He has to sell it to you. What is he selling? That's the whole point. He's selling an idea that really is dead already. He's selling a dead idea. So in order to sell a dead idea, you got to sell it with a lot of life and a lot of extra shit like mind control.
A visible emblem, the city and great architectural feats such as Notre Dame. It's like the best thing mankind can do. Think of...
Whoa. So building Notre Dame is like the best thing mankind can do. Okay, well, what is mankind? See, mankind built a civilization we call the colonial establishment today. Mankind built the Twin Towers and then brought them down. Mankind built Notre Dame and then burned it down. Mankind built this power grid that you're underneath today, and then is now pulling the orchestrated demolition of that empire, and then trying to tell you what to do in that event. Just the same way they told you what to do in the official story of 9/11 and the official stories of all the other false flags that were out there that triggered all these wars and so on and so forth. If false flag events like 9/11 triggered war, then false flag events like the burning of Notre Dame are going to trigger a war on the true spirituality. So this represents, he said, does this represent Armageddon? No, using words like Armageddon is fucking lazy. It's cheap. It's like the mainstream media. Talk about what the fuck you're saying. Say what you're fucking saying. Don't use words like Armageddon. This is why nothing actually changes, because people just use words like we all know, like we're all on the same page about what the fuck is going on. Well, no, we are not on the same page about what is going on. Because people like Russell are just throwing shit out there without any fucking accountability. Mankind, Armageddon, the greatest feats. Get the fuck out of here. This is all bullshit.
3 recent buildings that have iconically burned down or exploded.
3
or
to who?
Knocked down.
3 iconic buildings to who?
Like Notre Dame, Grenfell, and the Twin Towers.
So these are all things that happened in predominantly European like power settings or European focus settings. And then somebody says, "Oh, he is a European. He's from Britain, so he's gonna speak on these." Blah, 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 blah. No. He just lumped in the false flag event of 9/11 with all this. You can't just throw this shit around out there like it's just like a tagline that you can just throw in like some shit like that. No, I'm gonna say something about that shit. These are events, like I said, the burning down of Tulsa, the burning of the church, the blowing up of the churches that killed the 4 little girls. When they're telling you what's important, they're telling you that you're not important. That's equally important. When they're telling you what's important, they're telling you what's not important. When they're telling you that the events that happen to mankind are important, they're saying that mankind is everybody. Mankind is not everybody. In their world, when the so-called civilization or the colonial establishment starts to appear to fall or starts to fall, then that is an Armageddon to them, to mankind. But who the fuck are you and who the fuck is mankind? And why is mankind hell-bent on ignoring your story? Why does mankind have to focus all of its attention and all of your attention on its establishment?
Those 3 images suggest a decline in civilization, or suggest, perhaps more dramatically, an apocalypse. It's almost as if...
An apocalypse, Armageddon, a decline in civilization. Those are big-ass words that mean something very deep. And to throw them around like that, from like this guy is some kind of, he's like received as a spiritual authority figure in the world of mankind. In that world, what are they telling you is important? And what they're telling you is not important is equally important.
When the Twin Towers came down, you think about it, that was a seismic shift in global politics. From that moment on, everything was different.
What is global politics? Global politics is it's like the paperwork for the colonial establishment. Global politics is another word saying the political back and forths between people within the system of racism, white supremacy, otherwise known as the colonial establishment around the world. He's talking about Western civilization as if it's a real fucking civilization. See, that people downplay that shit. You don't see that as a fucking weapon. You need to see that as like a bomb, like a whole bunch of bombs being dropped on the consciousness of your babies. That the same way they're doing that in the education system, in the public school system. They're telling you not to critically think about the system itself. That is fucking dangerous. And that's why I focus so much on this new age shit that's out there, because that's going to be the next weapon against the people. It's already a weapon against us, but the next activated weapon against us. And what I'm saying is that the videos like this, what Russell Brand is doing right now, who did this video 7 days ago, a week ago, this is a strike against the people. This is a strike. They are representatives of mankind defending the colonial establishment. They're defending it by making it look like they're not defending it, by going against it and defending it by, in that defending it, they're telling you how to think about the stories overall. They're telling you how to think about 9/11. Alex Jones, TYT, Russell Brand, Graham Hancock, Joe Rogan, Owen Benjamin, they tell you how to think about reality right now. They tell you to think about it how it is going right now. They tell you how to think about the past, and they tell you how to think about the future. And in the same time they're telling you how to think about that, they're telling you that everybody else who's saying something else is wrong. If you don't say what they're saying, then they're wrong, or there's something's wrong with them. And the system knows this, so this is why certain people get promoted on YouTube and social media and the internet, and other people get censored, because the system knows that the system wants to promote storylines that are not threatening to its establishment. So this is why people like Russell Brand can talk about 9/11, because they're not talking about the infrastructure of 9/11. They're talking about, at best, the conspiracy theory story of 9/11. And it stops there the same way. You don't know what Armageddon, the words Armageddon are. You don't know what the words like mankind is. So they control you by throwing out these word games, these word controls, and never really going into the depths. And that's why the things can continue to go on and on and on and on, because you have the illusion of knowing what's going on by being inundated by the labels that get thrown out there. 9/11, like terrorism, civilization, mankind, like all these things, Armageddon, like all these things have meaning for you in some kind of way, at least on a subconscious level. When you watch all these fucking movies and commercials and social media posts, it's all fear-based. These are all key words that he's using to manipulate you to think and act and feel the way he does. And since he seems like a smart, good, spiritual guy, you think being more like him, or thinking more like him, or being more, having more of an approach on what's going on about like Notre Dame and all this other stuff. And like, if you have something like him, then you're good. You're okay. So that's what the system wants. It wants you to mirror people who are okay with their enslavement. Russell is obviously okay with the enslavement system existing overall. He's a fucking millionaire. Like he's a representative of that system. And you think they're just going to be having like a bunch of Trumps in Hollywood? No, they're going to have people opposite, or who appear to be the opposite of Trump, to defend the system. They're not going to have just like overtly just assholes out there being assholes out there. They're going to have people who love this system. They're going to have people who also secretly love this system, who are like nice and spiritual and all this other stuff. But you won't be able to point them out, because they look so like different. They're the polar opposites of what you think is the bad guy, like Trump. That's why he's put out there as the bad guy, to make people like Russell Brand and Joe Rogan look like the superheroes. He's being made up. This is why Trump is being, there's so much, like, obviously, like, we didn't even have so much attention on the presidency and all this other shit back in the day. Why is it now? Because they have to build up this personality of a super villain. So and that's why they have to put so much in there. They don't have enough, he doesn't have enough weight on him on his own to be a villain. So it has to, like, the villain aspect has to be inundated on every single moment, like constantly. So if it's not there organically, it has to be there in your time code every single day, every single moment. So they have to tweet about how every tweet is a snap. Villain, 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 villain. That's a tweet in your consciousness, so that when you have the little tweets that are tweet here and there from like people like Russell Brand, and like 6 months down the road, 3 months down the road, 2 weeks later, or some event like this happens. What does Joe Rogan think? What does Owen Benjamin think about this? What does Russell Brand think about this? So those are like the so-called benevolent tweets of the colonial establishment. Like this video is like an anti-tweet in their world to Donald Trump tweets. So this is like a hero tweet, whereas Donald Trump, every tweet he does is a villainous tweet. And then you also get the tweet or treats. There's another slip right there. The treats of, because every tweet is a unifying factor. Like, oh yeah, here this dumbass goes again, saying some more stupid ass shit. I'm so happy that we're smart and he's dumb. He represents the villain, but he also represents a consciousness of idiocy. Like, he's just so dumb that idiot factor is what unifies people. That's it. That's why he has to be emphasized as super dumb, because it's a unifying factor around a limited consciousness, which is extremely beneficial for the system, and which is what Russell Brand represents at the same time. People like Russell Brand and Joe Rogan want to keep you focusing on the who, and at best they're going into the what. And if they go into the what consciousness, mind you, there's 2 other layers of consciousness that are not even being accessed right now. When they go into the what consciousness, it's not even based upon an organic what. It's based upon a what that's going into the system of mind control to evolve the system. So our what would be going into the macro story of what's going on. Their what is going into the mankind Armageddon apocalypse story of what's going on. So you can see how that's inherently defending the system just by the way they talk about it. And they don't have to say that they're defending the system. They just have to talk about the system in a defensive manner. They're inherently dismissive of what happened to your people, your human story, your being story, your soul story. What we're saying, we're speaking for the actual people, not mankind. We're speaking for the actual events. People like Russell Brand are speaking for the mind control that is part of these events to keep that system going. New Agers have a manipulative style of speaking to you and controlling you. So this is a good example of like Russell Brand. She was saying a guy that was talking to her. This is how New Agers talk. New Age pimps. Talking about like, oh yeah. Let's just focus on the now, baby. Let's just talk about how we can expand our consciousness into we're soulmates. We're twin flames, baby. Like, be in the now. Don't focus on all that other stuff. What was she saying? He said, put that on the shelf. She's like, put that on the shelf and just be present with me. Because she was naming off all these specific things where he's a piece of shit or whatever in some kind of way, whatever it was. And things that need to be addressed, things that need to be spoken on, things that are worthy of bringing to the surface because they are critical. They're important to every situation right now. Like the same way I'm saying right now. And then the guy says, oh, could you just be present with me now and put that on the shelf? Let's do that. What? Damn, he said something else, but you see what I'm saying? Like, you're not being in the now. You're not being present. You see how that's a distraction from the actual information. Like, wait a second. We're talking about hundreds of years of systematic terrorism against our people. And you say that, oh, just because it's this, it doesn't matter? What the fuck? So this is how the New Agers are equivalent to a Donald Trump tweet.
Time where we're all questioning the identity of nation.
New Age spiritual team building. And all he's saying right now is that we're on the same team, we're all talking about the same stuff, and then he's going to end, because the video is going to end right now. So this is like, we all believe the same thing. That's what the rest of the video is. We all believe the same thing, but now he's going to summarize it, and then, you know, the big finish at the end.
How the money's going to be raised and how it's going to be funded. And
Don't talk about the roots and the foundation of this system. We're all impermanent, baby. Come on, be present with me. Be in the now. Let's pull our energy. Let's pool our energies together so we can manifest our world the way we see. You know? Come on, baby. Let's do this together. That's us. It's us. We're in this together. Look at this fucking guy.
Globe itself, all things ultimately ashes on some
All
astro
things
wind.
ultimately. The thing is to distract you with the information that's coming, that they're talking about, to keep you in the who and the what consciousness, so that you are largely subconsciously and consciously unaware of the how and the why programs that come along with that shallow, empty, manipulated what and who consciousness.